Um, okay. We're streaming live. So I'm just gonna check to make sure we're all set up here. Give me a moment as we wait for one.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're good. Well, we're definitely live on LinkedIn, which is my favorite social network.
Wow, I've never been live on LinkedIn before.
You are now.
That's cool.
You're so funny. All right, well, we're here. We're live. We are live on Zoom. We're live online. And welcome everyone to Warrior Women in Business, episode 38. Can't believe we've got here. It's been a long journey. I wanted to just, this is a really important episode for those of you, especially on LinkedIn, actually, that may have read my latest LinkedIn long form article about the importance of supporting those with disabilities in the workplace. I unfortunately have encountered and researched this information about up to 70% of people with visual disabilities unable to get jobs. So it really kind of lit a fire under me. I wrote the article. I met the organization Ramped, of which my amazing guest is a part of today. And I said, you know what, I really want to do something about this. So, Warrior Women in Business, for those of you that don't know us, we are an organization that is all about supporting women in business and women in the arts. And the whole purpose of Warrior Women in Business, if you've seen any of our previous episodes, is to bring women that have been there and done that and inspiring women to support other female entrepreneurs and artists. We have been around as a women's media company for the last few years. Recently, we launched, I think, a pretty cool kind of like custom illustration fashion and merchandise line. We are always up for helping women in our area in New York City. So with this episode, any of the anyone that shops on our site this week, we're giving 10% of all proceeds to women with disabilities and other organizations. You can see the pledge on our meetup group. We have really fun things like this phone case, for example. We have I have everything right here. We have really nice hoodies, if you can see this, t-shirts and other merchandise. But anyway, so Warrior Women in Business is a podcast and event series and lifestyle brand. And with all of that, again, my name is Jasmine Sandler, and I am thrilled to bring on my guest today, Precious Perez from Ramped, the organization that I feel is doing just a really tremendous job helping those with disabilities in the music industry. So with that, I'm just going to kind of jump right in, Precious. I read your bio a little bit. I don't know if I failed to mention she is the VP there, doing tremendous things. She's also a singer and songwriter, and is going to give us a little taste of her music today. But let me kind of jump right in. Could you tell the audience a little bit about Ramped and what they do as an organization?
Absolutely. Very excited to be here, so thank you. Um, RAMPed stands for Recording Artists and Music Professionals with Disabilities. And what we are is a global network of disabled musicians. Our mission is to amplify disability culture, elevate inclusion, and also advocate for accessibility within the music industry. So we've had the opportunity to partner with the Grammys and consult on accessibility. We've worked with Folk Alliance. We've been featured in the New York Times, Billboard, Forbes. We've across the board been able to kind of bring attention to what's disability in pop culture, because disability is a diversity that gets left out of almost every diversity conversation.
Yeah, Precious, we talked about that on my last episode.
Yeah,
There's this whole D&I, and I'm really, really involved with it. And
right.
once we meet, I'll tell you more about it. But I always say, like, disability, why is it left out? So, yeah, I mean, that's the gap, right? And what have you
Absolutely.
found with that gap? I mean, I guess what questions do you get around that, or what's the conversation?
I think what happens is, I get asked, what is your biggest obstacle as a disabled person?
Mm,
And for me, I have multiple intersectionalities. Like, I'm Latina, I am, like, so not only am I a blind woman, but I'm a blind woman of color. And then I also have anxiety and depression. I'm like from a low income first generation. So I have all these different things that kind of coalesce into my identities and where I am today. But people ask, like, what is your biggest barrier? And I always say, other people's
oh
misconceptions.
my God, is that not the truth?
Yeah.
Hmm. It's other people, yeah. So with other people, what do you think the answer is? Do you think the answer is education? Do you think the answer is patience from the other side? What do you think the answer is to that?
I think the answer is attitude.
Mm,
Because I think a lot of people, they are ignorant, and ignorance isn't always, it's not a bad word, it's just the truth that people just don't grow up understanding disability, or they're told like, I don't ask questions, don't do this, whatever, so they just don't know, and they don't see enough of us or interact with enough of us to realize that we're just people that are slightly more different than they are. um, and so I think the answer is, hey, I don't know how to help you, but let's figure it out. Let me ask questions so that I do the right thing or that I help you in the right way. Because I've interacted with so many people that maybe didn't know what I needed or didn't know how to help, but they were open to figuring it out and making it work and, working together. And I think that's the biggest thing, really. Like, you don't have to know everything, but you have to be willing to figure it out.
yeah, it's such an awesome answer. I think that's what it is. I mean, you just hit the nail on the head. And I think that this conversation, I never hear this conversation, and I think it's really important. The attitude and like open mindedness. And I like that you also said that ignorant isn't really a negative word, it's just kind of how it is. People come from different backgrounds and cultures, and
Right,
you have to educate them. Especially, right? We're in a very, hence being on Zoom today. We're in this like live online global world,
right.
and that can cause some challenges, right? Because you're not able to actually, like we were talking about pre-show. I said to Precious, wouldn't it be great if you could be here in New York and we could actually meet physically and talk? I think that body language tells a lot,
For sure.
yeah. So okay, so I thank you for that. I'm gonna move right on. All right, so let's talk about the supportive community a little bit. Like, how have you been able to find a supportive community, and what does Ramp do in that piece? Like, for musicians, I'm very involved in the music world as a musician and a
Yeah,
speaker in the music industry. But so, how do musicians with disabilities find support, and what does that support look like?
absolutely. So I think for me personally, finding a supportive community has come with just being really open about who I am, and if I needed a resource, asking people I knew, where can I find the help for this, or do you know anybody who knows anything about this? And then really building on those relationships and figuring out, like, okay, who gets it?
Mm,
Because really it's about who gets it.
yeah.
Um and finding those people and really continuing to connect with them and to build with them and to create this network of support is really what I found to be the most beneficial personally, is just really finding those people and holding on to them,
Yeah.
um, and supporting them as well. So it's not just like, oh, you're giving this to me and you're giving me this advice and these resources. It's about uplifting each other
Hmm.
while being able to also advise and support. And I think with Ramped, we are creating this community. I mean, within the music industry, nobody is doing what we're doing.
Yeah, it's true.
And this is such an important facet of the industry, and there are so many of us. There's no excuse to say we can't find a disabled musician because we're here.
Yeah.
We are here. There is a whole directory. We have our website. We are all over the place. Like, we are
Yeah, you
here.
guys are. It's true.
And so at this point, Ramped is a community. It's not only, you know, a network for the industry, but within Ramped, we support each other and uplift each other. And I think that's always been my personal goal as an artist, is to not only uplift myself, but my communities. And I think Ramp does a fantastic job of doing that.
Yeah. So let me ask you another question. As far as like any specific groups, like Facebook groups or LinkedIn, is there any like specific group besides joining Ramped? Of course, that's a given.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've been
Join
spreading the
us.
word like a, no, I've been spreading the word like a maniac because, I mean, I know I've had a disability since I was born. I never really
Right.
talked about it, and then I had this accident, and my life just been turned upside down. I found Ramped; it was like the biggest light in the universe. I was like, why do people not know about this? So, besides joining Ramped, any specific like, you know, Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups or groups that you can think of that people can just, just kind of for like everyday support that you can think of, or does Ramp provide anything like that?
We also have a Facebook group. So there's two levels of membership in Ramped. There's pro membership where you get little more like opportunities and things like that. But there's also community membership. We have a Discord. We have a Facebook group where anyone is welcome to just become a part of the community and ask questions. And, for specific, musicians with disabilities support. Um, and then, there in other facets of the entertainment industry, um, there is this group called Open Circle Theater that I just worked with. I was in a dramatic reading last week in DC. The Kennedy Center is fantastic with accessibility, but there's also this group called Open Circle Theater that is geared a little more toward, there's something called the Hive that anybody can just sign up for.
Oh, I'm familiar.
And yep, musicians with disabilities, and they have town halls and all these different resources. So there's just there's a lot out there when you really start to kind of look into it. And Ramped is kind of working to bring all of these together and partner with different organizations so that we can make sure that there's accessibility across the board.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I noticed about the organization is that you connect with a lot of organizations actually both in that space as well as outside of that space.
Yeah.
Ones that I've been a member of for years, what's interesting to me is that I didn't really know about what you guys were doing. So it's like you're like this kind of quiet powerhouse that people don't know about, and they definitely should. So thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about you know, so what's interesting is to me is as a musician myself and in a couple of bands, um, I don't think that musicians treat musicians with disabilities different, but I do think, it's my own opinion, that perhaps, and I think I talked about this in my lunch meeting with your crew, is that people with disabilities, I think, sometimes have to be more resourceful, right?
Yeah.
So how do you think that musicians with disabilities, how have you seen them, or maybe even yourself, kind of use that as a strength, the resource in their daily life?
Absolutely. I think we have to have a backup plan for a backup plan, because not every, place or person is going to know. Like if we say, okay, I need this to be this way, like, I need a ramp to make sure I can get on the stage, or I need to make sure there's somebody there to meet me. There's this one example I can think of where I went to an event and I was performing at this event.
Mhm.
And, I got everything squared away and I get to the place I'm supposed to go, but the building is huge and I have nowhere to go. And I ask the contact I had, and I said, hey, can you meet me outside and help me get to the place inside? Because I don't know where I'm going.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, just take the elevator up here." And I
Yeah, I
totally
know.
didn't get
Yeah,
that.
no.
Hey, I'm blind. I
Yeah,
need
right.
your assistance.
Right.
And like they just didn't get it. Like I had other people helping me up there, and then I had somebody else help them show me how to like. It was interesting, and so that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
So the skill of advocacy to be able to get what you need even if it's not already there. Or for example, if you have to have another plan for, like, what if they don't have this in place, what if they don't have this other thing in place, like how can I work around this? And sometimes you're thinking on your feet
Oh,
in the
yeah, you have to
moment
think
to
on
make
your
sure you
feet.
can access stuff.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely a skill set, and it can be anxiety inducing and stressful, but it
Oh,
is
yeah.
definitely a skill
Oh,
set.
yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Oh boy. No, I understand. I can't wait to hear you perform today. I mean, I'm honored to have you on.
Oh,
I
thanks.
actually want to share something quick with you that, so
Yeah.
I've been studying at Juilliard to become the best.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so excited about it, but anyway,
That's
but
fantastic.
yeah, so I'm like, I've been singing a while, but nowhere near you. Anyway, so I in our class, you know how you do recitals and things, right? So
Mm-hmm.
everyone has their sheet music. I can't read I can read sheet music, but because of my accident, I can't read right now as fast as the pianist.
Right.
So when I went to sing, I said, well, I just had to memorize everything, and they looked at me and I said, that's what we have to do, right? The point is, like, you have to, I love that you said the backup plan, because you have to have a backup plan. You kind of
Yep.
always have to have this plan. And in the end, I think it makes you stronger than just like the average person. It's so interesting because I don't think the average person they're gonna rely, right, on certain
Right.
things. And then when they're taken away from them, it's like you have to have all of that in place. So I don't know. I think, like you said, it causes anxiety, but I think I wanted to let kind of others that I know out there that struggle with these things, is that, maybe it doesn't need to be, think of it as anxiety, but think of it as something that might be like a strength of yours. It's like, not many people can do that.
Yeah.
You should pat yourself on the back, you know?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, you should. It's not easy, and it's not something that everyone can do. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So next question. Besides Ramped, and besides some of the organizations that you mentioned that are kind of like in this particular space, in music, Warrior Women in Business, we cover every kind of industry, where I just look
Right.
for really special women in different industries. So outside of the music industry, can you think of any other organizations or companies that you think do a really good job with accessibility? Just kind of in general, that you've come across, that you might say, you know what, they're doing like an excellent job with, like, customer service for people with disabilities, or just any organizations
Absolutely.
that have wowed you.
Yeah, so Tilting the Lens is one. They're a fashion company, and it is what they're doing around fashion and accessibility is fantastic. I'm also lucky enough to have a couple friends in different areas of business that are women, and they are blind or visually impaired women running their own skincare business, fashion business. My
Cool.
friend of mine, Michelle Romero, who is also an author, started this group on Facebook called See My Style. And what is happening in that group is networking to bring together all of these businesswomen and allies who are creating accessible products. I have a friend named Stephanie Valdez who does her company's Blind Delights, and she creates skincare products, soaps, um, foot soaks, bath bombs, anything you can think of, she can make. And she herself is blind. Um, and so she puts like a braille thank you on her packaging, and
Oh, that's wonderful.
it's really cool. There is a brand called Blind Designs, and it's a woman who lost her vision, and she still loves fashion designing. She'll design clothes with, different um, disability centered uplifting designs, like a white canes snowflake made out of white canes, or like she creates dresses and different things. And I actually have a couple of her dresses for my next photo shoot, which is very
Nice.
exciting. There are so many businesses out there that are run by empowering disabled women, and I just love the fact that there are efforts being made by people that I'm lucky enough to be close to bring all of them together and really kind of uplift that sector of industries as well.
Well, after this podcast is edited, I'm happy to, when in the show notes, if you want to send over their links, I'll put them in the show notes.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people should know about this. This is awesome. This is very enlightening. No, that excites me. I like the foot bomb got me very relaxed, actually. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know what, she has magic in her products. I always tell her, I'm
Yeah.
like, girl, I don't know what you did, but this is fantastic.
I love it. I love it. That's very cool. Okay. So next question. So what are your personal, let's say 2 to 3 tips you could give to women with disabilities in music in terms of if they're in a bad place, if you know what I mean?
Yep, yep, yep.
Not just, you're not a therapist, but,
No, I mean,
tangible
we're
tips.
all creatives, right? We do our
Yeah,
best. But
exactly.
I think my first tip um would be really trust your gut. Trust yourself in what feels right for you in your artistry, because there are going to be people that try to tell you that you should do this or you should do
Yeah.
that, or maybe you should latch onto this because you know what your vision is for yourself as an artist, and trust that and stick to that. Don't let anybody else try to manipulate that. My second tip would be find a mentor. Find someone who can help you to work through things maybe you've never been through before, to help you kind of navigate different career aspects that you might not know how to navigate. Um, Somebody that can uplift you and support you. Like, um, I'm blessed to have a mentor like that, and I honestly probably wouldn't be here without her. So, um, I say, just like find that person or those people, that network that can uplift you and support you um, in your journey as an artist, getting to where you want to go.
Yeah.
And I think the third tip I would give is stay vigilant,
Mm.
because there are going to be, you know, it's a male dominated industry.
Mm-hmm.
And there are going to be men that try to abuse their power in this industry.
Yeah.
So you need to be careful who you trust, who you give power to within your brand, and just keep your ears and eyes and senses open and walk away when you need to.
Mm. I love those tips, honestly. They're so important. Trust your gut. I love that because it's easy to get, especially if you're in a space where you might have anxiety or depression related to this. Not you. I'm just saying the you out
Oh, I
there.
definitely do, but there are yous out there
I
too.
don't even know you, but you know what I'm saying. So,
Yep, yep.
but I'm saying it's easy to take somebody else's opinion when you're in a weak state.
Right.
So, right, psychologically. So I love that you said trust your gut. Trust your gut, but also be open to, and I would say also to add on to what you talked about the mentoring. I totally agree that having support, the right support, is so important, right? But I would just add to that mentoring is that because I consider some of the colleagues I have in the music industry, they might not consider to be mentors to me, but they are. And I say that to them, you're like, you're my
Hmm.
role model. And they probably like, what are you talking about? I would say, don't be afraid to, reach out to them.
Right.
Sometimes you think, oh, I don't want to bother that person, but no, you should. I mean, if they're there to support you, you should. So some people I found are kind of fearful of utilizing someone. I think that you should. I think if they have your best intentions at heart, it's a really good thing.
Yep. It
I've
goes
just
back to
seen that
building
personally.
relationships.
What's that?
It goes back to building relationships with people.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, uh, next question I have. All right, yeah. Well, I haven't really asked you about I can't believe it. What your tell me about your VP role and what you do there. Very specifically ranked.
Yeah. So specifically, I am in this role to support the president and everything that she does. And I also am currently chair of the memberships committee. So what I do is I run meetings if the president cannot. Then I run meetings. I help make executive decisions with the rest of the executive committee. And I'm just doing everything that I can to support Ramton Ram's mission and to support my fellow colleagues. And so that's really my main role. And I love that we all can support each other and make these groundbreaking decisions that are going to keep moving Ramped forward because Ramped is growing. And that's very, very exciting.
Yeah, no, it is. Okay. Well, thank you for that. I can't believe I
Yeah.
didn't ask that up front.
Oh, no, you're good.
I'm so excited to talk to you. I've been doing research like crazy, and also I had lunch with your president, and just
Raunchy, yes.
got me so I'm like, oh my God, I have so many questions. So now that we've gone through a lot of information, so let's get into the fun stuff. Tell us about your artistry, your music, and then if you could play a bar for us of a song.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah,
explain the song up front before you play it. But go
will
ahead.
do. So I am in mainly in the genres of pop, R&B, and Latin, and this year I am transitioning heavily into my Latin era, which I am very, very excited for. Um, so this song that I'm gonna play for y'all isn't in Spanish. It's not one of my Latin tunes yet. That's, you know, to be continued, coming soon. Very exciting. But this song that I'm gonna play a little bit of is called You. And I wrote this song for one of my friends, Blaine, who at the time was really struggling with her mental health. And I thought to myself, well, what can I say to her to make her understand that she's needed here and that she's loved and like what does she need to hear? And then I realized while writing it that I also needed to hear those words too.
Yeah.
And so it was one of those moments where I went, "Oh, wow." you know?
I
Um
understand this song.
and I actually just submitted this for the Tiny Desk contest
Oh,
this
no
year.
way. Oh, that's so exciting.
Yep, so my submission is on YouTube of this song, and I'm very, very excited about it.
All right, cool. We'll
So I'll
share that too
just,
in the show notes.
yeah, I will definitely
Now
link it
tell
to
us
you.
about that guitar.
This is actually a ukulele.
Oh, okay.
It's
I
a
thought it was
Breed
like a
Love.
mini guitar.
It kind of looks like one. It's made by
No,
a
because you know what it
company.
is? I can't see the top of it.
Oh,
Yeah, that's why I was like, what is that?
yeah. So it's made by a company called Breed Love. I'm a Breed Love artist, and so this is my baby. It's a tenor ukulele, so it has a little bit of a fuller sound than maybe like the smaller soprano or the concert.
Yeah.
And I perform with this. So this is my uke, and I'm just gonna play a little bit of the chorus.
Yeah, I was gonna say do the chorus. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be the first one to tell you it's all gonna be okay. There are rainbows and butterflies, even if you can't see them today. I've been where you are in the dark, but now I see the light too, and it's coming right from you.
Okay, I want to cry now.
Oh,
I'm glad you didn't do the whole song. I'd be bawling.
yeah.
No, it's really good. Wow,
Thank
your voice
you.
is amazing.
Thank you.
That's real. I could see that in a show in like 2 seconds because I run JSM for artists, so we
Oh,
focus
wow.
on sync and at the moment, and I'm speaking at NAM, and I'm like, wow, did I hear that in a TV show? It's so good.
Thank you so much.
Wow, look at the talents I have on this podcast. That's crazy. That was beautiful. Thank you so much for being like vulnerable and
Oh,
doing it on the
absolutely.
podcast. I've never had anybody sing on the podcast.
Oh, wow. First time for everything. I'm
Yeah,
honored.
yeah, no, so we were talking pre-show, and those of you that know Warrior Women in Business, I've been fighting so hard to bring in music into Warrior Women in Business, and we've done live shows, and that hasn't been easy. But when you said I want to send on a podcast, I'm like, how's this gonna work out? But worked out beautifully. Also because you have a gorgeous voice. But thank you, I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure those of you that are watching online are like, wow, this is the best lunch music I've ever heard. Yeah. Okay, so when we do an event, we were talking pre-show, where I'm planning on doing another, thank God, Word Women. I say thank God because of COVID.
Yeah.
Planning, a real live event. We're gonna have you as the star. We're gonna have you sing for sure. Of
Ah, I love that. I'm so excited.
course. Are you kidding? All right, so all right. Oh, okay. I got a couple more questions for you that are pretty
Yes.
important. So when I ask these to all of my guests, I handpick my guests. I gotta be honest with you. I look for people that are just, I think, kick ass and real. And so I say that up front to prep this question. I ask all my guests what they have done. You just in that song, you've done something, but what you've done in the workplace to uplift other women. And can you share an example of something you've done?
Absolutely. Um, so I am the type of woman that's like, we gotta stick together. Like, just always. Um, I'm not interested in drama or like being catty towards other women. Like, my whole thing is there is enough of that in this world, and it's about time that we all come together and uplift each other.
Amen.
So I think for me, the biggest thing that I do is really like check in on the women around me in whatever work environment I'm in. How are you doing? Let's laugh together. Let's smile together. Is there anything I can do to make your day better? Like I'm I'm very empathetic as a person. I really take in a lot of energy that's around me and things like that. So um it's really important to me to make sure that the people that I love and that I care about and that I support feel, um, you know, uplifted and happy and joyous. And so, whatever I can do to make that happen, just is what I'm gonna do. And an example is, one of my best friends said like love in private and love out loud, and that's what I try to do for women. um, I will check on them individually, like, hey, how are you doing? Or like, we'll connect, my ramped colleagues and I will connect privately, and then, in our meetings and things like that. And then um, I will like shout out people when I get the opportunity, the friends that I shouted out here. And so just any opportunity that I get to uplift women that are doing amazing things that I'm lucky enough to know and be surrounded by, um, I take it because I think there can never be enough of that love and light.
Wow, that's really empowering. Usually my guests will give me one specific example, but I think that it's so important what you just said. Carrying it from the day to day takes a special person. And I loved how you talked about the empathy. More of that is really needed, you know.
Yeah.
It's just, and I can feel it from you. I felt it when we got on and we had some technical issues, which always happen. It's like they always happen, and you were so patient about it. So that takes a lot of empathy. So I applaud you on that, and I think I hope that people are listening to that because that's the only way, right, to really
Yeah.
spread the love and empowerment is to do it as something as a habit,
Yeah.
as
Be
opposed.
the change you want to see, as they say, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes I don't know if you disagree with me or agree with me, but I feel like sometimes you're forced into doing that, and maybe that's your gift. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You just end up in these places where you're like, oh, wow, I didn't anticipate this today, but we're here for it. Let's go.
I just love your attitude. I love it. It's how you respond, right?
Absolutely.
It's how you respond. And I think also I like the fact that we talked about, other people have, some problems as well with like the anxiety and depression, and just know that other people have it. So you have to be that light, right?
Yep.
Okay. Warrior Women in Business. So Warrior Women in Business, just so you know, because we're fairly new friends here, used to be Wonder Woman in Business, and
Mm.
that got shot down by Warner Brothers, which I was really happy about because I was like, hey, you guys know about us? But anyway, so I, I think warrior women and wonder women are very synonymous to me. I have my own description of what that means, but I'm curious to know when you heard the term and I reached out and I said, hey, would you like to be on my podcast? It's Warrior Women in Business. What did that term mean to you, or what does that term mean to you?
My first thought was quiet strength.
Hmm.
Um, because warrior is so many things. But we are multifaceted as women, and that is our strength. And I think sometimes that is quiet, and sometimes it comes out. Like, I'm a loud person. All my friends know I'm loud. My poor husband has to deal with me every day. He knows I'm loud. Like, I am a loud person when I'm comfortable and when I'm, having a good time. But sometimes the strength is in the silence and in the thinking and introspection and like learning and changing and growing. And so there is a strength in silence, and there's also a strength in just being able to determine and to navigate different situations with quiet strength. And so, I think it encompasses the the kind of um, kaleidoscope of all the characteristics that a woman can be. We can be quiet, or we can be strong, or we can be soft, or we can be loud, or we can be all of them at once. But just the juxtaposition of quiet and strength, I think, really spoke to me.
Wow. Well, that's weird. And I say it's weird because my band is called Silent Fury.
Whoa!
And
Wait!
I swear to God, and I named it because I think that a lot of people are have a lot to express and they're quiet. And it's like I want to give them a platform to deliver that.
Yeah, that is
It's
wild.
interesting. That's interesting that you said that, but I agree with you, and I think that that's something that we do. That's such a power that we have, right? That we
Yeah,
can do things quietly, but they're just as strong. It's almost like
yeah,
the Eastern philosophies of like flowing with the wind and bending with the trees, right?
right.
We have these strengths. I love that. I love what you
Because
said.
I know, like, I'm personally, like, I'm a very upbeat. I try to be positive, but, I have my moments and my dark days and all of
Oh,
that.
yeah, hello.
Who doesn't? But, like, I just think it's so important to realize that, like, I don't have to be like bold all the time to be strong. I don't have to be loud all the time to stand in my power. Like my power is in all of those things and in every moment that I am. And like as is true for all women. Like we all are who we are, and there is power in that.
Yeah, and I love that you said that because to go back to your previous point about working in the music business industry, which I'm fairly new to as a speaker and a CEO
Yeah.
within the last 10 years. I don't know as much as you do about the industry, but I think one thing that we have to remember as women is just what you said about using our silence, using our knowledge, using our experience as our power because, we don't want to be labeled as people that are just have to raise our voices to be heard, so to speak,
Yeah.
because I think that men may expect that. They may expect that we have to climb above, we have to work harder, but maybe we don't. Maybe we have to yield our other internal powers. And I really love that you say that because I think women forget that, and a lot of women that I come across, including my bassist, in the music business industry, women, they just astound me with the way that they move, the things that they do, and they don't even need to say a word. And they
Yeah.
don't realize how powerful that actually is.
Like they command power and demand respect because of that. And that's so important to recognize where your power is, to find it and to live in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's about finding it, right? It's about
Yeah.
finding what it is. I love it. Okay, so let's see. I have a list of nice questions in front of me. Sometimes I just go off the rails, but that's fine. Um, all right. Your music. Yeah. So you talked about, so your artist name is
Precious Perez.
Precious Perez. And people can find your music on YouTube under Precious Perez.
Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, YouTube. Take your pick.
Yeah, okay.
Any of the above.
All right. So, well, we heard you. So, I mean, if anybody doesn't go to your channel, I know I am. I'm about to get a
I
glass of wine and
appreciate
that
that.
foot scrub and listen to your music. You know what I
It's
mean?
funny because we actually did a collaborative TikTok, her and I, where like I like did like a little getting ready with me with some of her products, and then one of my other best friends and I like did the whole like foot scrub thing together, and like it's on her business TikTok. It's just fantastic. Like I love bringing people together and really collaborating and uplifting. And like my mother-in-law has Jalen's Creative Studios, and she does like custom wine glasses and keychains and decals, and like just I love seeing women support other women and being able to like bring people
100%.
together, and it just fills my heart. So very
Yeah,
excited.
me too. And it's really doing it, you know? It's
Yeah.
really doing it. It's really fulfilling your promise.
Yeah.
I think that to me makes a warrior woman. Fulfilling your promise for women to other women. So, before I talk about what's going to happen next with Warrior Women in Business, because today we're not taking questions on Zoom. We're going to be taking any questions you have for Precious. You know, you can reach out to her. She's going to leave her information. I think it's very important, and for anyone that's joined us today or may watch this in the future, to check out Ramped. If you care about this, you should check out the organization. Like I said, within one small Sunday brunch, I was just blown away, and I ran home and I wrote my LinkedIn article about this. I just was like,
That's amazing.
it's so important, you know. And I know it's Women's History Month, and there's so much going on this month about D&I, but this is just to me and I hope to everyone that's watching and listening it's equally as important. So with that being said, Precious, how can people first of all join Ramped? I think that's number one. How can they do it if they
Absolutely.
learn more about it?
So Ramped can be found at ramped.org. That's rampd.org. You can become a member. There is a direct link to become a member. You can apply to become a professional member, fill out the profile, and you will get vetted. Or you can just become a part of the community. You will still get, news, and you'll still be able to join the Discord. But we would love to have any and all of you. And disabled musicians can become professional members, or disabled people in the music industry, whether it's music managers, producers, different areas of the music industry are all welcome. Um, and then any allies are more than welcome to become part of the Ramped community. We'd love to have everybody. So please join. That would be fantastic. We're happy to have you and to continue just really this movement, because it's changing the industry as it should be.
Yeah, it's a quiet strength, as you say. Okay, so we have ramp.org. Do you have any marketing materials? Do you have any, products like that that people can grab or?
Yes, my website is preciousperezmusica.com. That's Musica. And you can find all of links to my socials, my articles, press, all of that can be found there. So you can feel free to visit that. I have some various handles because before I actually started building, my career and everything, I didn't realize that you can make handles like the same thing everywhere, and I can't change them now because it'll mess up all my tags and
Right.
everything. So those are all kind of different, but really Precious Perez, and you'll find me.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so we know everyone's gonna subscribe and listen to her music while they're taking the train, taking the bus, driving, or walking, right? We know this. And then also, Ramped, please do. And when I spoke with the president of your company, we talked about possibly doing something in the future. So I hope that Warrior Women in Business and Ramp can do an event together.
Yes.
I think that would be wonderful to have, both women, in music, women with disabilities, as well as musicians with disabilities come together
Yes.
and do programs together. And like you said, support each other. That's very important. So a few things I want to talk about that are coming up with Warrior Women in Business that are important to note. Again, on our shop, we have launched a whole new collection of items, and we have a pledge that's going on through the month, Women's History Month. As we generally do with events, we like to give a percentage of any proceeds with events. We're doing that with our shop now. We have a pledge on our meetup group and on our LinkedIn group to give a percentage to women with disabilities, both to RAMP and other organizations. We work with the New York City Mayor's Fund to disseminate funds. So that's one thing. The second thing that I want to talk about is what's happening on our next podcast. On our next podcast, I'm actually going to be interviewing in his studio a gentleman that really supports women and women with disabilities. He runs a medical spa, and it's called Carl Clark Aesthetics. And he's going to be giving a special giveaway and discounts to women with disabilities for any procedures or services in his offices in Queens and Manhattan. And we're going to be talking about beauty. And not just physical beauty, but we're also going to be talking about internal beauty. He really gets it, and even though he's a man, his whole office is women. He really understands what it's like to be a woman who needs to be powerful and how to make her look and feel her best. So we're lucky to have them as a sponsor, and I'm truly excited to interview him. So again, you'll find everything updated on our website, Warrior Women Business, and all of our social media handles, Warrior Women in Business. And if anybody would like to reach out to Warrior Women in Business or get in touch with Precious, after the show, we will be updating this episode in the show notes with all the links to all the great resources that Precious mentioned, including her own personal music site and social handles. So please take the time to reach out to us. With that, I want to thank you, Precious, so much. You've been such a light today, honestly. Just made me feel just inspired, encouraged, excited. Those are the adjectives I would use. So,
Well, thank you. It was an honor to be here, and it was great to finally meet you, sort of half in person, virtually.
sort of, kind of. But we were definitely. Are you going to be? Are you guys going to be at NAMM this year?
I don't think so. I
Okay.
could be wrong, but I personally will not be there, and I don't know if we will be. But
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get an opportunity to touch base.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll intersect in another music business industry.
Yeah.
So with that being said, again, I want to thank everybody for joining us for Warrior Women in Business episode number 38 with Precious Perez, VP at RAMP. Please check out ramp.org. It's an organization that's very important to anyone that cares about this topic. And with that, I want everybody to have a wonderful day and power their businesses. Again, my name is Jasmine Sandler, Warrior Women in Business, and we're signing off episode 38.